going on, guys? DoorDash here, and I wanted to tune in here and jump into the discussion out there because I think it's very relevant time to be talking about this, and that is what I believe our proper classification can be and should be, and what we really need help with as the government swoops in here to try to help regulate the unregulated gig market. And I want to talk about what role should the government play, what do we need as gig workers, and what should we title ourselves. So let's jump in. Should be a good video. If you enjoyed this video today, if you hit subscribe, all right, like the video and share it with at least one person out there in the gig economy that you think could gain benefit. So let's jump into the first topic. What in the world should we be calling ourselves? And that is, my opinion, is gig business operator. I've been calling myself that from the beginning. I've referenced it in all my videos, and I think it encompasses exactly what we are. We don't own anything. We do not own a business. What we are individuals who operate gig apps in a business-like approach. And we try to make money for ourselves, whether it's part-time money, full-time money, whatever it is that we need, that's what we do. And as a result, we're operating a business. If we don't operate like business people, we will not make money. We are not operating like employees because we're not classified as employees. We don't have the protections of being employees. We don't have benefits. We don't have vacation. We have to take all of that on our own. We're taking all the risks of a business person without owning any assets, without anything to fall back on. If we go out of business, if we lose favor, if we get deactivated from all of our apps, we have nothing to sell but our cell phone and our car, and the car probably ain't worth anything. So as a result, I believe the appropriate term for us is gig business operator. You are a gig business operator. Begin calling yourself that if you like that, and classify yourself that. When somebody asks what you do, say, I'm a gig business operator. I operate gig apps. I go out and I work and operate gig apps and use them to make money. And that's what I do for a living. I figure out how to make money using my phone. Boom. All right. So, second thing is, what should that mean, and what do we need, right? Being called a gig business operator, if that became a classification and said you are now a gig business operator, and to me, I think somebody should be classified as a gig business operator for purposes of tax advantages and everything, is if they make more than 80% of their money, then they should have the ability to be classified as a gig business operator. And that should give you the following. You should be able to have a elevated mileage deduction, 30% more mileage deduction than whatever the standard deduction is should apply to you. 2, you should be able to write off the full cost of your vehicle purchase and any and all maintenance that you're doing, and it should be a fully refundable tax deduction. Okay, and that should come out, the government could recoup that by charging extra surcharges on the gig apps themselves on their profits, if they have any. But we should be able to get fully refundable credits so that we at the end of the year have that to reinvest back in ourselves and potentially use to get our vehicles. If they made that happen, that we could actually get fully refundable tax credits. In other words, if you were somebody who you could actually then make money at the end of the year, it'd almost be like a dividend or a bonus, that if you were getting all this mileage, you're keeping up with your vehicle, and that money is coming right back to you in the form of that you're not going to have to pay taxes. Or if you do end up spending more money on your vehicle, and you should be able to fully write off as a gig business operator, you should be able to fully write off. It should not be the itemized deduction count, but you should be able to, this is a totally different island. You have elevated mileage, fully refundable tax credits or tax deduction credits for any vehicle maintenance of any kind. You should be able to keep your receipts at the end of every year, keep the receipts and claim them. 3, any vehicle payments you are making you should be able to claim 80% of that vehicle payment if it's being used for gig work, and you can show by logging the miles. As long as you have more miles going for work than personal, then you should be able to claim 80% of the value of your payment that you're making. That should become tax deductible as well. That will help to encourage people to buy newer vehicles. If they have to buy a car, if they have to have a car payment, you know that that's coming back to the gig worker, and the gig worker is going to be getting that extra money back. You put those three things in effect, it's going to absolutely help the average gig worker out there to make more money. 4, you should be there should be the health exchanges are open for health insurance. There should be a ability to get extra subsidies for the gig worker to be able to get discounted health insurance. If you are a gig worker showing more than 80%, then you should get refundable tax credits credited back to you at the end of the year for any extra costs you might have at a tune of 50%. So let's say you're paying $1,000 a month or $800 a month. You're going to get $400 in refundable tax credits back at the end of the year. So you know, if you're making that investment, you're going to get a big payday at the end of the year. To me, if you put those 4 things in effect, classifies as gig business operators, we will be on the road making money, being profitable, and being able to get the people their food, their groceries, and allowing all these luxury services to operate. The question you go is, well, how do you pay for all of it? Well, you pay for all of it by going back and slapping a tax, a transactional tax, not paid by us, but paid by the gig apps on every single transaction done in the gig world. A very small percentage, but it will require the apps to have to report and have to be regulated and have to show exactly what they're paying, and thereby the apps themselves will pay a tax on a small, or we could call it a fee, whatever, a transactional fee on every single offer that's made and every single transaction that occurs, much like stocks, bonds, and everything else, because it's a contracts market. So every contract that's agreed to and fulfilled, these gig apps will pay a small percentage, minuscule percentage, towards to the government, that will go and essentially pay for these extra things that are coming out. So it'll be, it's the government essentially helping to reallocate the funds on the back end there. That's the second thing that needs to happen. The third thing that needs to happen is we need a regulated market where we can ensure fairness is occurring when these contracts are being offered. The first thing that needs to happen is we need to recognize that this is a contracts market, that there are 2 parties to this contract. There's the food apps, and then there's the gig business operator, and there's actually a third party, the individual that's agreeing to have their food delivered and utilizing these apps to do it. So it's a 3-party contract, and we need to be able to see that all sides are equally able to understand the cost of that contract. So thereby, it needs to be a regulated form that, because of the fact that you're going to have a transactional fee, it will require each and every gig app to show what they're showing. And if it doesn't meet the guidelines, and then they should be able to be fined for each one for the full value. In other words, so if they don't follow it, and then they got to turn it in, because they got to turn in that receipt for purposes of having the fees calculated. So every single one should have to go to a clearinghouse. It gets turned in, and if it's reviewed and it's not transparent, then they are fined the entire cost of that contract. Not the gig worker doesn't have to give it back, but the app will then have to give back any money above and beyond that wasn't paid out to the worker themselves, and the worker will, the gig business operator will be able to get compensation as well for whatever they missed out on, or the customer may get it refunded. But essentially, the gig apps will be held accountable and forced to make sure that it's fair and transparent. If you're found not to be doing that, you're going to get a fine, you're going to get required to refund and give money back to the customer, money back to the gig business operator, and make everyone whole on whatever it should have been. And obviously, like similar like wage and hour does, if you fail to pay properly, well, now you're going to pay the person 3 times, and you're going to give a refund back to the customer. You're going to pay the gig worker, the gig business operator, 3 times the value of whatever the money was that you withheld from them inappropriately. So, but the key part here is transparency occurs that requires these contracts to be shown. And the other thing that needs to come into effect is one of the rules needs to be is that there needs to be a 5-minute review period on all of these contracts. So when it's offered to someone, because of the fact that we're driving around in the communities, that there needs to be an ability that when you make that the gig worker has 5 minutes to review the terms of that contract and determine if they want to fulfill the contract or not. This is going to do a couple things. One, because of the fact that they're not going to be able to just be floating this thing around, and we're going to be able to pull off the road, look at the contract, decide if it's something we want to do or not. There should also be the ability that we should be able to counter offer every single one of these. So, for instance, DoorDash sends us an offer. Says, okay, here's what the deal is. We're offering you this contract at $5.50 base pay to go 8 miles. We come back and say, well, DoorDash, no, not going to work for me, but I'll do it for $10. We should be able to do that, to counter offer back to the app. The app should then be able to consider that counter offer. Okay? And now what happens is that will go into a clearinghouse. Now the app should then have to consider all counter offers. Okay? So they can then take that and they can then attempt to remarket that and send it around and say, okay, well, let me send it to worker A, B, C. However, any counter offer comes in after such a certain period of time, say 20 minutes goes by, then the best counter offer, okay, that makes sense for the app. So say, we're going to say, obviously in this case, the lowest counter offer that someone has agreed to work for, that driver would get notified, hey, you're on counter offer right now on this order. You're available. We are accepting your counter offer. You need to go to the restaurant and go pick this up. This is a system that could absolutely revolutionize everything, but it will absolutely codify the fact that we are a contractually equal party, just like our agreement says, and it will allow us to go back and perfect the bidding process, because there's a third person in this that needs to get protected, and that is the customer. And and there should be an ability as well that the app will say, okay, we expect to be able to fulfill this contract and get your food to you. We're expecting for the total cost of $11.95. So customer says, fantastic, go ahead, boom. DoorDash goes out, sends it out and says, you need to be at the restaurant at this time, blah, 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 for this amount of money. Will you take it? No, I won't, but I'll do it for $9. All right? Bam, now you're in the counteroffer queue. They send it over to another one. DoorDash now knows $9 is the minimum they're going to have to take, right? Or can they get someone to accept it for less than $9? Now, DoorDash can let everyone know, look, there's a counteroffer on the table right now for $9. You can either do this order now for this amount, right? Or you can counteroffer for less, and eventually you're going to close in on a figure where someone's going to say, okay, I'm willing to do this for $8.75. And then if you get out of it, your counter is gone. The key here is providing enough time for the dasher to be able to look at the contract, with enough time to say, all right, you're going to go to the restaurant at this particular time. And then there needs to be also written into that contract the ability to say, all right, after so many minutes of wait time, if the restaurant can't fulfill their end, which is their commitment is to get it done by this time, then the dasher's released from their contractual obligation to complete that order. So there needs to be, all parties need to be figured into this. If we can get that in effect, and listen, this can all happen, we just need to have the right discussions of what needs to come into effect, then we can get a well-operated, well-oiled machine that fits everybody. DoorDash gets paid what they need to get paid. the Dasher's getting paid what they need to get paid, and the customer is feeling like they're in control of what they're paying, and they're getting a say in what they're paying, and they can decide to proceed forward or proceed not forward with saying, well, listen, we've gone out, we've marketed it, and unfortunately, we were unable to find a Dasher to take it, so your new total will be $13.85 due to the enhanced fee that we had to come to get this order delivered. Do you accept? If you accept, we will send it to the restaurant for preparation. Boom. Now, does this slow down everything? Yes, it does. But with AI, with the ability to project and model, DoorDash, if they have the true AI that they claim to have, will be able to hone in and get this pricing better than what it is when this first rolls out. And every single gig app should be required to follow this model, whether it's for shopping, whether it's for picking up for Spark, whatever. This is how it works. If you want us to be contracted individuals and you don't have to pay the expenses of cars, maintenance, mileage, and all that business, then this is how it has to work. And you can offset that, fully put it onto the customer, and then all DoorDash is doing is they're a clearinghouse. They make the offers, they operate as the middleman, they bring in and advance their technology to get this thing honed in and to volumize this by making quicker, better offers to the Dasher, better offers, better predictions to the customer, so that everybody is happy and brought together in this process. This is it, guys. That's the vision that DoorDash floated around and has told people they were going to do. And the vision that they're doing now is absolutely exploitative. They're not worrying about trying to price things out. They're just worrying about trying to figure out what's the lowest point that we can get somebody to take that food across the town. And they're not following their own rules. This is why we definitely need the assistance of a regulatory body to come in and recognize what's really going on here. We are a contracts market, and we need regulatory help. We don't need somebody to come in and tell us what we should be paid, because the market should tell us that. All we need is the framework, much like the stock market has, much like the commodities market has. We just need the framework. We need the referees in place to be able to say, hey, we're going to try to make this fair for you. We're going to try to make this fair for the apps, fair for the customer. And the regulatory bodies in the government simply are referees. Don't get involved. Don't interfere. Let the market do its work. That's what we need. So if you agree, put it in the comments. If you agree, share this video so we can have a broader, greater discussion, because this is what we need to really be talking about, not Top Dasher and all this stuff that's meant to divide us, that's meant to upset everybody, that's meant to bring us farther apart. Look, we don't have to worry about Top Dasher or any of these other things. We really shouldn't be. We're not employees. We shouldn't be worrying about incentive programs or bonus programs or peak pay. We just should simply be worrying about what is the contract that they're trying to put to us. Simple. It's as simple as that. And the fact that they have us distracted, thinking like employees, worrying about peak pay, worrying about Top Dasher, worrying about X, worrying about Y, worrying about scheduling. No, none of that should be it. It should just be, we turn on our apps, we're available, they send us a contract, we start the negotiation process, boom, 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 boom. And if those of us that want to work our day can start planning out our day, because we know there's a customer out here that needs their order delivered, and the goal of the apps is to get that order delivered as fast as possible and to hone in on and to be able to make that process as smooth and efficient as possible. If we can do that, guys, we can make money, everybody can be happy, and we can conquer this whole issue and conquer this thing that's, the debate out there of how do we do this fairly, and how do we make sure everybody's compensated fairly, and how do we make sure that this market operates correctly and that no one is getting exploited in this process. Guys, thanks for listening today. Hit that subscribe button, share, like, stay safe, stay profitable. I'll talk to you soon.